All right, let's dive right in. Today we're tackling non-emergency medical transportation insurance.
MT insurance?
Yeah, MT insurance. It's for those rides people take to get to those super important medical appointments, but it's not like an ambulance situation, you know?
Right.
Think like someone needing to get to dialysis regularly, or maybe a senior citizen who needs a lift to the doctor's office.
Exactly.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Most folks don't realize that there's this whole hidden world of insurance just for this specific industry.
Oh, for sure.
It's not your run-of-the-mill car insurance policy.
Oh, not at all.
And that's what we're going to unpack today.
Definitely.
Our source really emphasizes that specialized insurance is, well,
That's crucial for an MT.
it is, but why? Why is it so different from just regular car insurance?
Well, because with MT, you're dealing with a whole other set of risks.
Makes sense.
You're transporting people who might have specific medical needs.
Oh, I see.
It's not just driving someone from point A to point B.
Right, right.
You got to think about things like accessibility, making sure the vehicle's equipped properly. And then there's the potential for, well, incidents that could happen.
Oh, what kind of incidents?
Well, someone could have a medical issue during transport, or there could be an accident, and you need to know how to handle passengers with specific needs.
So you're saying standard commercial auto insurance just wouldn't cut it?
It really wouldn't provide adequate protection in most cases.
Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
Let's say you're transporting a passenger and their wheelchair gets damaged while you're loading it into the vehicle.
Oh, yeah, that's a good example.
Would a typical car insurance policy cover something like that?
Probably not, or at least not fully.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's why specialized MT insurance is so important.
It fills those gaps that regular insurance just doesn't address.
It's tailored to the unique needs of the industry.
Okay, so our source dives into the key coverage areas that every MMT business needs to be aware of.
And they really break it down.
They do. They outline 4 main types of coverage. First up, auto liability.
Right, that's your basic car insurance in a way.
Right.
It covers those injuries or damages that, you might cause to others while you're driving.
So if the NMT driver's at fault in a fender bender,
Yeah, exactly.
this insurance would help cover the costs.
It would cover those costs for the other party involved, like repairs or medical bills.
Okay, got it. Now, what about general liability? That's the second type, right?
Yes, and it's a little bit different from auto liability.
How so?
Well, general liability covers those incidents that happen outside of the vehicle.
Outside the vehicle.
Yeah, like let's say a passenger trips and falls while they're getting into the van.
Oh, I see.
That's where general liability would kick in.
So even if the engine isn't running, there are still potential liabilities.
Absolutely.
And for MMT businesses, this is especially important, right?
Yeah, for sure, because you're often assisting passengers who might have mobility issues,
Right.
helping them get in and out of the vehicle.
Which, increases the chances of something like a slip or fall happening.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got auto liability and general liability.
Now let's move on to the third one, physical damage coverage.
What does that one cover?
That was pretty straightforward. It protects your vehicle, your van, from stuff like accidents, theft, vandalism.
Oh, right, like if someone breaks into your van or if a hailstorm damages it.
Yeah, exactly. And, for an NEMT business, that van is like your livelihood, right?
It's your bread and butter.
It is. So making sure it's protected is essential.
Makes total sense. What's the last key coverage area?
The fourth one is workers' compensation.
Ah, workers' comp.
This is super important for any business that has employees.
Right, because it covers those medical costs and lost wages if an employee gets injured on the job.
Exactly. And in the NEMT world, employees are often actively assisting passengers.
Lifting, carrying, helping them in and out of the vehicle.
Right, so the risk of injury is definitely there.
So it's not just about protecting the business itself.
No,
It's also about protecting those people who are providing the service.
exactly. It's about taking care of your employees.
All right, so we've got these 4 main types of coverage that every MEMT business needs to have on its radar.
They're the foundation of a solid insurance plan.
But I gotta be honest, the whole insurance world can feel kind of daunting,
It could be confusing for sure.
Where do you even begin? How do you navigate this whole thing and find the right coverage for your specific needs?
Well, luckily, our source gives us a really helpful roadmap.
Oh, tell me more.
They outline 6 clear steps to guide you through the process.
Okay, 6 steps. Lay 'em on me.
Step 1, assess your needs. And this is where you really have to take a good look at your operation.
What are we talking about here?
Well, things like how many vehicles are in your fleet,
Okay, fleet size.
right? And what types of services are you offering? Are you transporting patients with specific medical conditions?
Ah, so your needs might be different if you're specializing in, say, wheelchair transport versus just general medical appointments.
Exactly.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
It really isn't.
You need to really tailor that insurance coverage to your specific business.
Think of it like finding the right pair of shoes. you know?
Oh, I like that analogy.
You wouldn't buy a size 10 if you wear a size 8, right?
No way. My feet would be killing me.
And inadequate insurance can lead to some painful problems down the road, too.
So true. So this first step, assessing your needs, is like laying the foundation for the entire process.
It's absolutely crucial.
All right, we've assessed our needs. What's next on this insurance roadmap?
Step 2, researching state regulations.
Ooh, state regulations. That sounds a little bit,
A little bit try,
maybe a tad.
but trust me, it's vital.
Why is that? Do insurance requirements really vary that much from state to state?
Absolutely they do. The NMT insurance landscape is not a one-size-fits-all situation.
I'm starting to sense a theme here.
Yeah, each state has its own set of rules, its own specific requirements.
So you got to do your homework.
You really do. If you're not in compliance, you could be facing some serious headaches.
Like what kind of headaches? Legal trouble?
Oh yeah, potentially hefty fines.
Oh,
You could even have your business shut down if you're not following the rules.
okay, now I see why the source stresses this step so much. It's not just about finding the right coverage, it's about protecting your business.
Right, it's about operating legally and avoiding those potential pitfalls.
Got it. So we've assessed our needs, we've researched those state regulations. What's next?
Step 3, engage a specialized insurance broker.
Ah, this is where we talk about those insurance brokers, right?
Exactly, and I want to emphasize the word specialized here.
Oh.
You wouldn't, take your high-performance sports car to just any mechanic, right?
No way. You'd want someone who really knows their stuff.
Right, someone who specializes in that type of car.
Someone who understands its unique needs.
Exactly, and it's the same with NMT insurance.
So we're not talking about your typical insurance agent who handles, like, home and auto policies.
Nope, you need an expert who understands the nuances of this industry
Someone who knows the different types of coverage available.
and someone who's familiar with those specific regulations in your state.
Okay, so a specialized broker is like our guide through this whole insurance maze.
Think of them as your advocate.
They're going to help us find the right policy at a competitive rate.
That's the goal.
All right, I'm starting to feel a little bit better about this whole process.
All about getting the right help.
So we've got our specialized broker by our side. What's step 4?
Step 4 is comparing multiple quotes.
Ah, comparing quotes.
This one's pretty straightforward. Don't just settle for the first offer you get.
Shop around.
Exactly. Get quotes from at least 3 different insurers.
So it's like finding the best deal, but with insurance policies.
It is, because those premiums and coverage options can really vary from one insurer to another.
So by comparing multiple quotes, we're ensuring that we're getting the best value for our money.
And the best coverage for your specific needs.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's easy to get caught up in that first offer, but taking the time to compare could potentially save you a lot of money down the road.
It could, for sure.
Okay, so we've compared our quotes. We've hopefully found a policy that meets our needs. What's next?
Now it's time to put on our detective hats.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Step 5 is all about reading the fine print.
Uh-oh.
I know. It's not the most exciting part of the process,
Not exactly a page turner.
but it's absolutely essential.
Why's that?
Because you got to make sure that the policy you're choosing actually covers everything you need.
Makes sense.
You need to understand things like coverage limits, deductibles,
Right.
exclusions, and make sure it includes coverage for medical equipment, passenger liability, any state-specific requirements.
That sounds like a lot to keep track of.
It can be, but remember, you've got your specialized broker there to help you.
Oh, right. They can help us decipher all that insurance jargon.
They can. They'll make sure you're getting the right protection.
Okay, so we've assessed our needs, researched state regulations, found a broker, compared quotes, and we've read the fine print.
What a journey.
What's the final step?
The final step is implementing risk management practices.
Okay, risk management. This sounds less like insurance and more like something you'd hear in a business management course.
It's a bit of both, actually.
How so?
Well, insurance isn't just about paying those premiums and hoping for the best.
Right.
It's about actively taking steps to minimize risks and create a safer environment for everyone.
So it's about being proactive, not just reactive.
Exactly.
So give me some examples of what these risk management practices might look like.
Well, think about things like implementing a robust safety program for your drivers.
Okay, driver safe.
Conducting regular vehicle maintenance checks.
Right, keeping those vans in tip-top shape.
And providing ongoing driver training.
So it's really about making safety a top priority in every aspect of your operation.
It is, and you know what?
Not
only does this reduce the likelihood of accidents, but it can also lead to significant discounts on your insurance premiums.
Wait, really? Being proactive about safety can save you money on insurance?
Absolutely. Insurers love to see businesses that are taking safety seriously.
So it's a win-win. You're creating a safer operation and saving money in the process.
Exactly.
I like the sound of that. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why of NMT insurance, and now we have a clear roadmap for how to find the right coverage.
We've got those 6 steps.
But now I'm curious, where do we go from here?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Oh.
Our source actually provides a list of reputable insurance brokers in key states across the Midwest and South.
Wow, they really did their homework.
It's like they knew we were going to do a deep dive on this topic.
So are we going to take a little virtual road trip and check out some of these brokers?
Let's hit the road.
Okay, so we're ready for our NMT insurance broker road trip. Our source has hooked us up with a list of reputable brokers in different states, which is super helpful.
It is. Let's kick things off in Michigan. Our source mentions Bushbach Insurance Agency, Inc. Apparently, they've got a solid rep in the commercial vehicle insurance world.
What's interesting is they're actually based in Illinois, but they've clearly got a strong presence in Michigan. I guess some brokers operate across state lines, huh?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It goes to show you don't always have to limit yourself to brokers in your own state, especially in those areas where there's some overlap, like we've seen here.
Got it. Next stop on our road trip, Illinois, the source highlights Country Financial, represented by Robert Swice.
Country Financial, now that's a name I recognize. What's interesting is Robert Swice seems to focus on working with small businesses, which could be a good fit for someone just starting out in NEMT.
Yeah, that makes sense. You probably want a broker who really understands the ins and outs of a smaller operation.
Right, those unique challenges they face. Okay, moving on to Indiana, where we've got Tim Van Soodem, another Country Financial rep listed.
Seems like Country Financial has a pretty good network across the Midwest. Think that could be beneficial for an NEMT business that's operating in multiple states?
Potentially, yeah. Having that consistency and working with a company you're familiar with can definitely streamline things. Less hassle.
Right, right. Okay, let's cruise over to Ohio, where our source points to Progressive Commercial.
Progressive. Known for those catchy commercials, right?
Oh, yeah, can't forget Flo.
But don't let that fool you. They've got a serious side, too. They have a whole commercial division, and they offer specialized NEMT insurance.
So it's not all just fun and games with Flo and those shenanigans. They actually know their stuff when it comes to business insurance.
They do. Plus, I hear their online platform is super user-friendly, makes getting quotes and managing policies a breeze, which is a huge plus for busy business owners.
Efficiency is key. Okay, next stop, Georgia. And here the source is highlighting National Interstate Insurance.
Now, those guys are a big player in the transportation insurance world. They specialize in niche markets like NEMT and paratransit.
Hold on, back up a sec. Paratransit.
Oh, right. Paratransit is basically specialized transportation for folks with disabilities or those who can't use regular public transportation. It's like a more personalized service, door to door.
Ah, got it. So National Interstate has that deep expertise in transportation, and that includes NEMT.
Exactly. They really get that sector.
Makes sense. All right, let's head on over to Texas, where our source points to Motor Insurance Services as a big name in the Lone Star State.
I've heard great things about them. They're known for their customer service, really going the extra mile for their clients. Plus, they operate across multiple states, which, again, could be a big advantage for some NEMT businesses.
So they've got that personal touch, but with a broader reach. Nice combo. Next up, Florida. The source highlights Insurion for the Sunshine State.
Insurion, they're interesting. They're like an online insurance marketplace. Think of it like Kayak, but for business insurance. You can go on there and compare quotes from different providers all in one spot.
Streamlining that comparison process. Sounds pretty convenient.
It is super convenient. They really focus on speed and efficiency. Perfect for those busy entrepreneurs who don't have a ton of time to shop around.
Okay, 2 more stops on a broker road trip. Next up, Tennessee, where the source mentions Bristol West Insurance.
Bristol West is another one with a long history in the industry. They're known for offering a wide range of commercial auto insurance options, and that includes specialized coverage for NEMT.
So they've got that established reputation, solid track record.
Yep. And last but not least, we wrap things up in Alabama, where the source points to Allstate Insurance, represented by Robert A. Manske.
Allstate, that's a name everyone's heard of, and it looks like Robert Manske really emphasizes that personalized service.
Always a good sign. Building that good relationship with your insurance broker can make a world of difference.
All right, so we've done our whirlwind tour of NEMT insurance broker options across several states. What I'm taking away from this is that there are a lot of great options out there, no matter where you're located.
That's the good news. And remember, this list is just a starting point. You can always do your own digging, research other brokers based on your location and those specific needs we talked about.
Now, let's make this all a little more real. Can we walk through an example of how all this theoretical knowledge would actually play out in a real-life scenario?
Love that idea. Let's do it.
Okay, so imagine you're someone who's always dreamed of starting their own business. You're passionate about helping others, and you see a need for reliable transportation for seniors in your community. You decide to launch a small NEMT business in Illinois, specializing in transporting those elderly patients to and from their appointments.
Great scenario. Let's put those 6 steps we discussed earlier into action and see how this aspiring entrepreneur would go about finding the perfect insurance coverage.
All right, step 1, assess your needs. What would our entrepreneur need to consider in this case?
Well, first off, they need to figure out how many vehicles they'll need to get things rolling. Starting small, they might only need to insure 1 or 2 vans. And because they're focusing on elderly patients, they've got to make sure those vans are properly equipped for accessibility.
Right, like wheelchair ramps or lifts would be essential. What else falls under that needs assessment umbrella?
They'll also need to consider the types of medical conditions their passengers might have and how that could impact their insurance needs. For instance, if they're transporting patients who require oxygen or other medical equipment, that might require additional coverage.
Okay, so our entrepreneur has a good handle on those initial needs. What's step 2?
Step 2, it's time to hit the books. Researching state regulations, remember. Each state has its own set of rules and requirements when it comes to NEMT insurance. In Illinois, there might be specific liability coverage amounts or endorsements required for transporting passengers with certain medical conditions.
So our entrepreneur needs to really dive into that legalese, make sure they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's, fully aware of all those legal requirements for operating an NEMT business in Illinois.
Exactly. This step is all about avoiding those nasty legal headaches we talked about.
Got it. Okay, moving on to step 3, engage a specialized insurance broker. Who might they choose in this particular situation?
Well, remember earlier on our broker road trip, we highlighted Robert Swice from Country Financial in Illinois.
Yep, the one who specializes in working with small businesses.
That's the one. He could be a great fit for our aspiring entrepreneur. They could reach out to him for guidance and expertise throughout the process.
Sounds like a good match.
They could also explore other brokers in the area who specialize in NEMT insurance. The key is finding someone who understands the ins and outs of this industry and could really act as their advocate.
So they've got their expert by their side. What happens next?
Step 4 is all about comparing multiple quotes. They'll want to reach out to at least 3 different insurers to compare coverage options, pricing, and those deductibles.
Shopping around.
Exactly. It's like shopping for anything else. But instead of comparing features and reviews, they're comparing those coverage limits, exclusions, and premium costs.
Okay, so they've done their due diligence, compared quotes, and hopefully landed on a policy that seems like a good fit. What's next?
Time to break out that magnifying glass again. Step 5, read the fine print. This is crucial because, as we know, insurance policies can be filled with some pretty complex language, and it's easy to miss those important details.
You don't want any surprises later on.
Exactly. They need to pay close attention to those coverage limits, what's excluded, and what their deductibles are.
And if they run into any questions, anything they need clarification on, that's where their specialized broker can really earn their keep.
Absolutely. The broker can help break down those tricky sections, make sure the entrepreneur is getting the protection they need, no surprises down the road.
All right, we're almost at the finish line. What's the final step in our entrepreneur's journey to NEMT insurance success?
Step 6 is all about implementing risk management practices. This is where our entrepreneur shifts from reactive to proactive, putting measures in place to minimize those risks, make sure their operation is running safely.
Okay, so what would that look like in action for our entrepreneur in Illinois?
They might create a really solid driver safety program. That could include things like doing thorough background checks on potential drivers, regularly reviewing those driving records, and making sure there's ongoing safety training.
Makes sense. And they'd want to stay on top of vehicle maintenance, right? Regular inspections, making sure everything is in tip-top shape to avoid any mechanical issues that could lead to accidents.
Exactly. And guess what? All those efforts could lead to discounts on their insurance premiums.
A win-win situation, creating a safer environment and potentially saving money. Love it.
It's all about being smart and strategic.
So, sounds like our entrepreneur is well on their way to launching a successful and safe NEMT business in Illinois. They've covered their bases, taken those important steps to protect themselves, their employees, and their passengers.
They have, and I think it shows that while the world of NEMT insurance might seem intimidating at first, it's totally manageable when you break it down into those 6 clear steps.
Okay, so we've explored the why, the what, and the how of NEMT insurance. But I'm curious, what's next? Where do we go from here?
That's where things get really interesting. We talked about insurance as it is right now, in the present. But the world is constantly changing, right? Technology is advancing at lightning speed.
You're right, things are always evolving.
Exactly. We're seeing things like telehealth, remote patient monitoring becoming more and more common, and even the rise of self-driving vehicles. And all of those things have the potential to significantly impact NEMT and obviously the insurance that surrounds it.
It's mind-blowing to think about, really.
It is.
Imagine a world where you've got self-driving cars transporting patients to their appointments. How would that change the whole insurance game?
Now that's the million-dollar question. Would we even need the same level of auto liability coverage if human error is taken out of the equation?
That's a great question.
Right. Or would the focus shift more towards things like cybersecurity, making sure that sensitive patient data being transmitted in these vehicles is protected?
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that.
It's a whole new set of considerations.
It is. And what about telehealth, too? If more and more appointments are happening virtually, would that mean a decrease in demand for those NEMT services and then potentially lower insurance premiums?
It's possible, definitely. But then you could also argue that telehealth might actually increase the need for NEMT in certain situations. What if, a patient needs transportation to a facility for specialized testing or procedures after that virtual consultation?
Oh, good point. It's not just about getting to the doctor's office anymore. It's about accessing the entire spectrum of healthcare services, wherever those services might be.
Exactly. And as those services evolve and become more complex, the insurance industry, it's got to adapt and keep pace.
So we're basically saying that in the future, NEMT insurance might look completely different from how it looks today.
It's a definite possibility. And that's what makes this whole conversation so fascinating. We're not just talking about static concepts here. We're talking about a dynamic industry that's constantly changing, responding to these new challenges and innovations.
It's like a puzzle where the pieces are constantly changing shape, and we've got to figure out how to fit them all together.
I love that analogy.
It really is, and that's exactly why we want to leave our listeners with this thought-provoking question to, chew on.
Okay.
As tech keeps advancing and reshaping the whole NMT landscape, how do you see the insurance industry evolving to, meet those challenges head on?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Will we see, totally new types of coverage pop up?
It's possible.
Will the need for traditional insurance, decrease?
Maybe.
Or will we see, some kind of hybrid model
Peppy.
that combines, the traditional stuff with these new tech-focused policies?
It's really an open question.
It is, and we encourage you, our listeners, to, dive in, explore those